So I want to kind of just have a generalized discussion with you all. And of course, hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. But this year feels different, right? It feels like a year, even more so than the 2020 roster, right? There was confidence. You looked at that roster and you're like, oh, this is a roster that can win an NBA championship. But there are a lot of like the same questions we have this year, that year, right? Can they build the chemistry? Will the pieces fit? Will egos be able to be managed, right? They were a little more veteran led, where this team is very young. Like the average age is like 26 or something like that, right? And you look at this roster and there's a lot of like the same questions. It's like, okay, got a lot of players. This roster's depth is far greater than the 2020 team, but can they put the pieces to the puzzle? Can they build that chemistry? Can they build those relationships that 2020 team had? I mean, they were special, right? I mean, they played for each other. I mean, you had a guy, Hall of Famer, Rajon Rondo, who was getting DMPs, playing, 5 minutes a game here and there, right? Never complained, still coaching on the bench, still being a team player, guy in Dwight Howard, accepting his role. Like, everybody accepted the role. Everybody was willing to do whatever was necessary. You need me to play 10 minutes tonight? No problem, coach. You need me to sit it out tonight? No problem, coach. You need me, whatever you need, let's do it. Because the goal and the commonality is let's go win this chip. And it helped tremendously in that bubble. Because you had all these teams that they were missing their families. And, you hear constantly, like, all these players, their mental health was just so strenuous. And you don't have fans and support. And you're just kind of isolated. It's just frustrating. And, you're missing the people that you usually connect with and talk to and all that stuff. But the Lakers, they had each other. They were hanging out at the pool. They're hanging out in each other's hotel rooms. They had bonds and relationships and friendships. And it was something special. And they kept that goal in mind and they built that chemistry. You saw them jumping up and down for each other. A guy falls on the floor, the bench runs over and picks them up. Like, now obviously the rules and stuff like that have changed. Like they've gotten stricter. They want you not getting off the bench, stuff like that. So I'm not saying like we have to see the bench run over and go pick a guy up, but it's just you knew that what was coming. You knew, all right, they have the talent. All of the metrics and stats and stuff all say they're the best team. They have that chemistry. They have that it factor. LeBron and Anthony Davis, 2 top 10 guys playing like it. We need that this year. We need LeBron James and Anthony Davis playing like 2 top 10 guys. Specifically Anthony Davis, right? LeBron, I still expect him to be LeBron, but I wouldn't be shocked if he takes a little bit of a step back, right? He's wanted Anthony Davis to be the guy. He's wanted Anthony Davis to take the keys. Here you go. Time to steer the ship, right? And kind of goes both ways, okay? Like, Anthony Davis needs to be assertive and needs to actually take over and be that guy. But LeBron's also has to be willing to allow that. Because LeBron has said it, but a lot of his actions haven't shown it, right? Like, how many times do we see Anthony Davis establish himself for a position or whatever, and LeBron not give him the ball? If he's the number one guy, get him the ball, right? Like, that's the difference, right? We saw him a little more towards the back half of the season last year and then in the playoffs. Like, he was deferring and kind of playing within the offense rather than being the offense. And how much of that was injury and how much of that is actually him willing to take that step back, right? Because he has to instill that confidence in Anthony Davis because he's still LeBron James, right? He's still the guy, the alpha. He's the dude that if he wants the ball, guess what? He's getting the basketball. That's how it works, right? So he has to make a conscious effort to know Anthony Davis is the guy. Let me go get him the ball, even if it means me sacrificing and not getting, 25 a game or whatever, right? LeBron's still going to want to get his to an extent. Like, he's still going to be a 20-plus a game guy. Not worried about that. But instead of him going and getting 28 to 30, does he take a step back and go and get, 23 to 25 so Anthony Davis can eat and make sure that he gets his 28 or 27 or whatever, right? But also the beauty of this is these two don't have to be as great as we need them to be. They don't always have to be as great, if that makes sense, right? Because you have so much depth. You have so much talent. You have 6 guys on any given night could go for 30. You got obviously LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but you got Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Christian Wood. There's your other 4, right? So, and I love Anthony, and I talked about this in a video yesterday about Anthony Davis and how he can be unselfish at times, and I love that from a superstar, right? Because most superstars, they are very selfish in a lot of ways. They want it, and they need to get their 30. They need to get their 25 shot attempts. They need to whatever, right? Where Anthony Davis, he doesn't really care. And I defended him a lot last season because he even said it. If I don't need to go get 25, why? Like, these guys are all cooking. Why would I take away from them when we're winning? Right? Like, and we saw him try to carry the team, and he had to do so much, and he had to overexert himself. Same thing with LeBron. They're not going to have to do that this year, right? I mean, I still want to see Anthony Davis go get 30 and whatever, but it's more so when we need him to, right? Like, we need LeBron and Anthony Davis for the moments that we need them. But beyond that, we're not going to need them as regular. Like, last year, LeBron and AD had to combine for 50 a game just for us to be competitive in those games. I don't think that has to be the case this year. Like, I think LeBron and AD could go combine for 30 and we could still win games, right? I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I'm saying, like, it's nice that we have that, right? Because we have so many guys that on any given night that can provide such a scoring punch and be defense. I think we're going to be number 1 defense. I think we'll be top 3 to 5 offensively. Personally, I wouldn't even be shocked if we're number 1 offense. The only team in the league last year that were top 5 in both were the Boston Celtics. Lakers were 7th in offense, 116 and some change. Sacramento was number 1 at 120. This team is 4 points better. Now, obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into that, and we'll see. You're going to have your good nights, you're going to have your bad nights, but it's the consistency that I need to see from this team. And they are already putting the motions in gear, which I love to see, right? They're already working out together. They were just in a gym, running, practicing as a team. We're not even in training camp yet. We're not even in LeBron's player-only camp. This was just them collectively making a decision. Let's get together and let's start this process. I love that. I love that. It adds so much hope and excitement. It adds another layer of confidence, in my opinion, because it's like, okay, they clearly have the goal. Like, this is it. We have the talent to win an NBA championship. Now we just have to put it together. Right? And this is a whole new team. A lot of ways like that 2020 team was. Yeah, they had returning, KCP, guys like that were returning. But for the most part, like, that team was thrown together. And they had to figure that out. You just traded for Anthony Davis. Like, you had to figure that out. And it's the same thing with this team. Yes, we had a good, half the roster returning from last season, but they only played 24 games together or whatever total, fully healthy, because they only played 8 full games leading into the playoffs, and then the playoff games that they played, right? So they don't, it's not like they have this huge sample size. They've played a quarter of a season together. So they still need to build that chemistry together and that camaraderie and those relationships. But we are headed in the right direction, right? We have all the puzzle pieces right now laid out. We have half the puzzle done. We just need to put together the final half, right? I think even before we got Christian Wood, I think we were one of, if not the best teams in the league. Now, again, on paper, you look at teams, paper, we are the deepest team, unquestionably. I mean, there is a legit argument for 12 of the 14 guys we have on this roster to start. Legitimately. Right? And what other team has that? But Christian Wood became the cherry on top of the sundae. Christian Wood became that piece that takes us from like, oh, we're contending status to like, oh no, we may end up being the best team in the league because he can be that dynamic. Now again, we don't know what this will look like, and we've seen that you can throw all these pieces together and it doesn't work. We've seen, the Lakers have had several teams that are just ridiculous on paper and it just never worked out, right? The Phoenix Suns even, right? If we are given trophies just on paper, give Phoenix the title now. Nobody's beating Phoenix if that works. But there's so many questions about Phoenix. How are they going to be defensively? Are their big three, are they going to work? Is Ayton going to implode that team? Is he going to end up getting traded for Nurk, right? There's all the conversations about, Phoenix looking to maybe land Nurk from Portland for Ayton, right? Okay, if they get that, how does that look? Is that better? Is that worse? Like, is Bradley Beal really going to be able to be the point guard for Phoenix? Like, there's a lot of questions. What happens if Anthony, knock on wood, not saying I want this to happen, but if Anthony Davis and LeBron James missed like a month together, I fully believe that we could be over 500 during that time. What other team could do that with their two best players? Like if Boston lost Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, would Boston be able to stay at or above 500? I don't think so. Would Milwaukee? I don't think so. They couldn't even beat Miami in the first round of the playoffs without just Giannis. Imagine if they didn't have Giannis and Middleton, right? Phoenix. If they lost Kevin Durant and Devin Booker for a month, do you think that they'd be able to stay over 500? I don't. If Denver lost Jokic and Jamal Murray for a month, do you think that they'd be able to stay afloat? I don't. And for those that are thinking like, oh, the Lakers couldn't, like, you remove LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you still have a ton of size, a ton of versatility, you still have a ton of playmaking, and you still have four guys that could go give you 25 to 30 on any given night. You just don't have the superstar level talent. You just don't have the superstar players. But you still have the depth, you still have the size, you still have the versatility, you still have the playmaking, you still have the scoring. You just wouldn't have the consistency that the superstars provide. But you'd have more than enough to beat most teams in the league on any given night. You'd still be good defensively. I don't think you'd be number one defensively because Anthony Davis is that good defensively, but I think you'd still be a very serviceable defensive team, and I think you'd still be a pretty good offensive team. I think you'd be good enough to weather the storm and be a middle-of-the-pack team, right? I'm not saying that they, let's say they play 15 games in that 30-day span. I'm not saying that they go 10-5 or anything like that, but I think they could go, 9-6 or something like that, whatever, right? Maybe 8-7 or whatever, which would still be above 500, right? Like they could weather the storm. And that's a testament to this depth and the talent that they have. But they have a tough schedule and a just gauntlet this season. They have the second toughest schedule in the entire league. The entire Western Conference. Correction. They have like the seventh, I believe, sixth or seventh toughest in the entire league. But Western Conference, they're second behind the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix has number one toughest schedule. Lakers are number two. So the two teams that are, in many people's eyes, the most likely to come out of the West. Got to put Denver up there because, they're defending champions. But outside of that, I think it's fair to say Phoenix and LA, those are the two teams that are more likely than not to come out of the Western Conference. Those are also the two teams that have the toughest schedules in that conference. And we're going to learn a lot about the Lakers during this stretch, especially early on. Our first 5 games are against like 4 of the 5 toughest teams in the league beyond us. Right? Like we got it tough. We have a real schedule coming up. Right? You got like Denver, Phoenix, like it's going to be rough. And even like we even have like Orlando who might be a very good team this year. Like Orlando's one of those teams where every year, the last like 3 years, they have been the number one team on both sides of the basketball and like are the best team in metrics wise for like a month straight every year. They just can't put it together for an entire season. But like last year and the previous year, they literally had like a stretch in like February and I think March where they were like the best team in the league and they went on like a 10-game win streak. Like it's just they can't put it together. Like, but they're a team that can absolutely win some games. Right? They're a talented, young, hungry team. Right? And it's the Lakers. Every night, everyone's going to show up for you. Every team wants to be the team that beats the Lakers. You know, we got to play the Clippers, who we haven't beaten in 5 years or whatever it's been. Like, it's been a long time. Right? They've won, like, what, 12 straight against us? Something crazy like that, 11 straight. Like, we have like, we're going to be tested immediately. You know, it's not going to be like, like Lakers are 7-0 to start the season, but it's because they played like Detroit twice and San Antonio twice and, you know, Houston twice and, you know, whatever other team, you know, Orlando once, right? And so there's no, it's like if they go 5-0, 6-0 or whatever, it's like, oh no, like watch out. Like, no, they're terrifying. Because they would, again, they'd have to beat like Denver, Phoenix, the Clippers, Orlando, and then it's what, like Phoenix again or whatever. Like, so if they end up winning, if they start the season like 7-2 or like, you know, whatever, 6-3 or something like that, or 7-3, let's say the first 10 games. Oh, watch out. This team is going to be terrifying. I think they beat Denver opening night. I genuinely do. I really do. Like, I really do believe it. And I think they're going to beat Denver. And I think you're going to have this narrative of like, oh, there it is. The Lakers are the best team in the league, blah, 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 blah. And I think they beat Denver, but I don't want to jump the gun on that. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be pumped. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be talking my talk because it's Denver and they were running their mouths the entirety, even after they beat the Lakers. So, believe me, I'm going to be talking hella, you know what? I'm on YouTube, but you get my point. I'm going to be talking, believe me. But I want to say now that in reality, I want to take I said it last year. Stay cool. The highs with like, don't get too high on the highs. Don't get too low on the lows. Keep an even keel, right? Let's take things a game at a time. Because, again, they could beat Denver and go 1-4. And it's like, I want to see how does this team look through the first 10 games. Because the first 10 games are tough. Tough. And if we come out of that 5-5, it's not good. If we come out of that like 6-4, I still don't think that that's great. But if we come out of there like 7-3 or like 8-2, something like that, watch it. Watch yourself. Watch yourself. Because that means Lakers are probably number one offense, number one defense, probably the best team in the league. Having that type of schedule to start, and winning, stop. But time will tell. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Like I said, just general conversation, not really necessarily anything news-related or anything like that. Just sometimes I just want to talk to y'all and express it, right? Like I always say, I'm a fan just like all of you. I'm not some insider. I'm not some big reporter. I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel that likes talking Lakers. Sometimes that's all I want to do. It's just like, let's talk some Lakers. So, anyway, love your thoughts and opinions.